I am Tina Ference. I'm the Director of Technology here in Fauquier County Public Schools. I started off in 1994 as a sixth grade teacher and became an ITRT, became the ed tech leader, and then now I'm in this role as the director. So I've seen all aspects of, and so when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to speak about, and I asked and I spoke with Derek, who was the communication person that we went back and forth. I'm like, what am I supposed to talk about? Because I think the theme was challenges and innovations. And so that's what my focus was on. But as I went through it, I focused more on the challenges. But in thinking this all through, and when I finish, you'll see that the challenges that I've dealt with is to hopefully help our teachers and our students become more innovative. So bear with me. There's not a whole lot of AI in this, but Lisa, who's presenting next, is talking more about AI. So my focus is on different challenges that we have in our county and how we've dealt with them. And then we're going to go from there.
Wait, that's bad.
I gotcha. So balancing technology and education, and that's a tough one. When I think back to when I first started teaching, I would say the biggest challenge in 1994 was that we didn't have a lot of technology in the building. We didn't have a laptop. We didn't have a computer. None of that existed in our space. Eventually, we had a computer lab, and it was a computer lab. So one of the challenge was, how do I find the time to get in there? I was fighting my colleagues for that space. I was fighting my colleagues for that one technology cart that had the one projector with the one laptop. I had to go through that. And I know some of you who are younger probably are like, well, you didn't have a projector when you first started. Nope, I had an overhead projector. That's what I got. So when we had to go through that, that was probably our biggest challenge, is that you didn't have a lot of equipment. We still had to worry about sustainability because you had to keep that one lab in good working shape so that everybody in the whole school could use it. So you still had to worry about that, but not to the extent that we do today. And student privacy was somewhat of an issue, but for the most part, when you went to the computer lab, you opened it up, you double-clicked on the program, you didn't sign into anything, there were no student accounts. You opened up MapMaker, created your map, you printed it on the black and white printer, and that's where you went with all that. So there was that kind of information there. Those were the challenges back then. And they still remain. But we have new challenges. We're one-to-one, which leads to screen time, which I'm sure all of you in all your districts deal with. Our kids spend too much time on the screens. They're spending too much. They go home and they're on the screen. They do this, they're on the screen. So you have to fight that balance. And then student privacy, while we had to be cautious, it was a locked door to the records room. And that's the only place you could find those records on your students. Now everything's at your fingertips. You need to protect your account so that when you're in our student information system, we're not making it available to everybody. So those are new challenges versus the old challenges of finding everything that you have there. And I just realized I apologize for the black letters. It should have been white. So we are one-to-one. So when I'm going to go through the technology challenges that I face as the director of technology, but I'm fortunate that I work in a division that we all work together on all this. Okay, so screen time, how much is too much time? Quality over quantity, and that's probably a conversation that Lisa and I have all the time. Is this a good quality app? And then what are some parent concerns that we have?
Tina, who's asking you about screen time?
So it started with parent concerns, saying, we're seeing that our children are spending all day on the computers. Okay. Is this correct? So what we did is we formed a committee and said we polled administrators, teachers, and instructional supervisors first. We did ask for parent input. We put out a survey, asked them some basic questions, and we did eventually have a parent who served on the committee as well. So what is too much time? And we can look as an administrator on what is being used. We use Learn Platform, we use LineWise, and we're seeing that they are spending a lot of time online. Some of it is good quality, and some of it is just perusing YouTube. So where do you draw that line?
Isn't that the real question, though? Because Because in the business world, people are online all day too.
Correct. I would
Right?
agree with you on that.
So it's really a quality issue.
Yes, it's
Okay.
quality, but you still have, they did the research. You find the documents that say, oh, kids are spending too much time online. So that leads to then parents now sharing this concern. So we did our survey. We decided it was guidelines, not policy. So there's no policy that says you can't spend this much time on the computer. So we decided, we drafted those guidelines, and we took several months, and I know some places might do a year, but we took a few months to go through this. And it was very thoughtful in how we made the decisions to what we did to limit everything. But the issue that we ran into was state testing and state mandating of, so here in Virginia, we have 3 times a year for testing. So you have the SOL test at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, you have a growth test. And in the middle of the year, you also have another growth test. Okay, well, do you count that as part of their screen time if they have to take that test? We also now have mandatory requirements for tutoring, and most of those programs are online. So does that get counted against our time on screen time? And it's a lot of time that they're on these tutoring programs. We have a lot of programs that we now are mandated to utilize. How much, if you factor that in, then there's no more time for anything innovative. And when I go back to when I said we fought over who had the computer lab, and I was that person who took it, I had my name probably cursed out a few times because it was in my room. But
hey, Tina.
Yes.
So did you guys differentiate between passive
Yes.
and active screen time?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and those were things that are factored in, and it's been about 2 years since we did this. In doing this presentation, realized we need to reevaluate and see if we need to kind of look at things again.
Okay.
But I think back, I feel like we were more innovative in the 90s with that limited technology, because when you got the computer, you were using it for something creative. You were using it to have the kids produce something. They weren't consuming. They weren't taking a test. They were creating a pamphlet. They were outlining a map. So we were I feel, much more innovative back then, because now it's at their fingertips. Our students, 3 to 12, all have their own Chromebook. 3rd through 5th keep it at school, but 6th through 12th graders take them home. So it's very easy to be like, okay, everybody take out your Chromebooks, we're going to do an activity. But a lot of times that activity isn't anything creative, it's consuming. So we looked at the timelines, we went through that process. So what we came up with our guidelines is that at the pre-K to 2nd grade level, little to no screen time at all. And the reason we did that is because the focus should be on basic skills. Kindergartners should be learning how to use scissors, to use their paper and pencil. So we looked at how much, and we thought, well, it's not a big deal. They're not doing tests online. They're not doing tutoring online, but they are now. So how do we kind of balance that? 3rd through 5th grade, we said no more than an hour to an hour and a half. And again, this is outside the window of testing, required tutoring, all those things, just beyond that window. And then at middle and high school, we said no more than half the class period. So our high schools are block, they're 90 minutes. They shouldn't be on their computers more than 45 minutes. Middle school, no more than 25 minutes. But then that led to the question of, but what if I am doing a project? It may take them the entire class period to do that. Okay, that's fine. And it should be active versus just watching a video. So if you're going to do an activity with the students, then make sure that it's something that they're actively engaged in, but that maybe the next day you take a screen break.
How do you get the 3rd through 5th grade teachers to divide that?
So most of them, and Sid, correct me if I'm wrong, most of our elementary they are there with the kids all day. They're not really subject based.
Okay, so, that's fine.
There are some that are subject based. So that would be, a conversation they would have to have with each other in order to kind of meet that 1 to 1.5 hours. Like if I am subject based in 5th grade, then okay, hey, do you mind? I'm gonna do a big lesson. Could you not do something? But again, guidelines. There's no enforcement. Please think about doing these things when you're thinking about when you're using a Chromebook. Is it a quality? Are they actively engaged versus, and we look at it as consumption versus production. Are they just consuming information versus can they produce on it? Are they creating something from it?
Yeah, because otherwise you could have argument with pencils and pens, right?
Correct. Absolutely. So, and you think about, I think the time years ago, one of the phrases was when we first started with laptops for a Chromebook system, but it's $1,000 pencil. And if you think
Yeah.
about it, sometimes the Chromebook becomes a $400 pencil
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
paper. So, and then we asked them to consider homework. You know, again, so we're a division that we have areas that have no internet access to some of our areas in our division. Some maybe due to financials, but some truly is that we have some very rural areas that they can't get high quality internet. So we have to think about, hey, if you're going to do homework on a Chromebook, could you please make sure you consider that not all of your students have this? So it leads to all those different components that we have there. It's not an easy task. And again, you think, okay, if we're limiting screen time, are we preventing them from being innovative? I don't think we are. And again, it all comes down to active versus passive. So, okay. So, and again, I already talked about what does count towards screen time. But we also had to look at IEP exceptions because oftentimes it's written into a student's IEP that it's a reward for good behavior. Yes, ma'am.
Want you back on screen. Thank you, Tina.
So we want to make sure that we allow for that as well. Because especially at our elementary and our autism classrooms, one of the things that is a reward or something that's written into their IEP is time on screen. So you can't take that away from them. So this is not an easy task. It's not a done deal. We need to continue to evaluate what is the best route for this. And some of that will start with surveys, but some of it will also just be conversations, somewhat like we're having here today. And one of the reasons with the screen time was also distractions. Okay, or if they're looking at inappropriate content. So we have, like I mentioned before, we have LineWise is our filtering program, and there's a component called ClassWise. Our administrators, and they know that, those have been in our room from here today, they get red flag notices that somebody was looking for something inappropriate. Sometimes it's not. It might be at the middle school level they're learning about. Thank you. Yeah. Naked mole rats get flagged all the time when they're learning about that in science class at the elementary level. And so Sid's got to figure out, do I really need to talk to this kid about searching the word naked? Oh, nope, they're not looking up naked. They're looking up naked mole rats. So, but it is a distraction. And so sometimes when you take that ability to just do whatever you want, whenever you want, it takes away some of those filters, some of those red flag notices. They know in science class they're going to do that. But they also get notifications that kids really truly are looking up something inappropriate. So when you just give them all unfettered access to do whatever they want, that makes an impact. Okay. So, but then this leads to, this was a discussion during the screen time. Do we eliminate YouTube at the elementary level, at the middle school level, at the high school level, wherever? And at that time, the discussion was, nope, we're not blocking YouTube. We had principals who would reach out and say, can you block YouTube at my school? So we did based on their request. This year, the decision was to block YouTube at K-8. With principal's permission, we could allow the teachers to unblock it during their class. So they could still have YouTube, but they were the ones who had to go in and say, yep, you can have access to YouTube. No one at elementary chose to unblock YouTube during their class time. We had 2 of our 4 middle schools that did. They chose to allow teachers to unblock it. But then that led to another issue of, but I used YouTube to do tutoring lessons. I put YouTube in as a backup. If they didn't understand math, they can go to this lesson and review. I use it for foreign language, to practice their foreign language. Okay, so how do we do this so that they could still see the videos, but YouTube in general is blocked? So that required us to work closely with LineWise to go in and figure out how did we have to adjust our filter to allow them to embed YouTube in Schoology so they could still see the YouTube video but not go out beyond that video. And so that's worked so far. We're not even 9 weeks in. I'm sure if we survey, we will probably get some complaints. But we're going to continue. But we've also had some positive feedback saying we have less distractions. We have less damage to Chromebooks because they're not taking them out of their backpack at night to watch YouTube. So, as I said, but we'll get to the sustainability part. But with YouTube, one of the reasons, in addition to distractions, we looked at, okay, the state law says no targeted advertising. YouTube, for the most part, is targeted advertising. You watch a video, you get ads on the side based on what you watched. You get the suggestion. Some of it is really more generic, like, hey, this is what you should watch next. But
Couldn't you mandate DuckDuckGo?
So we've not used DuckDuckGo because it doesn't pop up on our line-wise filter. We can't see what they're doing on DuckDuckGo because it's in incognito mode.
Yeah, but it'll take all the advertisements out.
True, and we could look, but it's that, how do we do this?
Yeah,
where we can still monitor what the kids are doing, but they still have access. So we found that flip, but we may have to in 6 months go, okay, we're going to allow YouTube at home. Because if you allow kids to take Chromebooks home, the filter still has to apply. So whatever our filter is during the school day applies at home. So right now, when they go home, YouTube is blocked as well. The question becomes later, do we open up the window when they're at home to allow YouTube? We do have YouTube Safe Search on. So it should not be pulling inappropriate content. But what YouTube finds appropriate and what we find appropriate are two different things. So again, we found a way to embed the videos in Schoology. But we also did ask parent permission to use YouTube because Google made its changes to its policies for the Google Workspace. It said only certain things are not under the age of 18. YouTube, you need parent permission for YouTube. So in addition to YouTube, we also asked permission for several other apps, but we put it in our online registration. Do you allow your child to have YouTube? This is what's collected. This is what's there. And while you think, well, why did you do that for elementary when you blocked YouTube at the elementary level? If we allow teachers the ability to embed it or to open it up during their classroom, they still need parent permission to allow YouTube. So we put it in our online registration. Very few parents said no to YouTube. They said very few parents said no to anything. So they read over it. We didn't have anybody who said, I think we had 2 people who said no to everything. But we still provided that permission to make sure that we were okay, that we remained FERPA compliant in that instance there. So, but again, principals can say, Tina, go ahead and allow our teachers to unblock YouTube during their class period. Okay, I knew I was going to run short. Okay, so now that leads to apps. So I'll try to get through this. So YouTube is an app, but we also have an app approval process. Again, quality versus quantity. And even with our app approval process, we still have over 600 apps approved. Because when this first started, and it still is very much, and Lisa's going to use the term Wild Wild West, I'm going to use it here. We are the Wild Wild West of apps for a long time. And it is really hard to rein in, oh, you could do whatever you want, and now say, nope, and I'm the no person. So, but I'm not trying to deny innovation. I'm trying to make sure that we have quality apps out there. So in our process, we ask our supervisors, are you good with this? You're the math supervisor. Do you like this app? If they say, yep, I do like that app, or maybe they say, no, that's not quality, or it interferes with something that we pay a lot of money for, please don't approve that. If they say yes, then we have a small team of ITRTs that look it over, and they're diving deep to make sure it's appropriate. They're making sure that there is not targeted advertising. They're making sure that it's quality. They're making sure it's easy to use. If they approve it, it goes to a tech team to make sure it fits in our network. Does it work on our Chromebooks? Does it work in our CTE labs? If it does, then I'm the final step of privacy. I'm very fortunate that our county agreed to allow me to join with the tech co-op, which it cost me $5,000 a year and it's worth every penny, which they evaluate the data privacy agreements. They look them over, they negotiate. Their legal team works with the company to determine whether or not we'll sign that DPA. It takes time. And sometimes we have to make a decision, especially with special education apps, that we have to go quicker than maybe it's necessary to kind of go on there. But I have to look at keeping our students' privacy safe, and I have to look at keeping our network safe. And I 99% of the time, if it's an out-of-country software program, the answer is no. Sorry, we have to keep our data in-house. But we do ask parent permission. So like Khan Academy is one of those places that just does not do a data privacy agreement. We're a small company. We provide this to you for free. If you want to use this, use at your own risk. So we had to make a decision. Do we still allow Khan Academy? And we said yes, but we want parent permission. So that got added to the online registration. But then in some cases, and I'm 90% certain it's Quizlet, they were like, they won't sign it. We're a personal product. We're not meant for schools. We're not signing a DPA. And there are so many other quizzing programs out there that we're like, okay, Quizlet's blocked. Quizlet said no to signing the DPA.
Ridiculous.
I'm 90% certain that's who it was. It's either Quizlet or Quizzes, and I think it's Quizlet.
Yeah. Wow.
Quizzes. It was Quizzes. Oh, it is Quizlet. Thank you. Yeah. Quizlet said no, we won't sign the DPA. We're not meant for schools. We're meant for.
Tina, can you take your badge off?
I got you. Yep, no problem. So yeah, Quizlet said no, we won't sign the DPA. So we made the decision. There's too many other products out there that we can use. We're not using Quizlet. And so then, how do you balance that privacy versus student creativity? And it's never easy to do. But sometimes less is more. And when you have 600 approved apps, we're already too many more. So it takes us a lot to say, yes, we'll approve it. It is. And again, that is partly because when we first started the app approval process, it was like, oh yeah, that's good. Oh yeah, that's good. So now we have to rein it in. It was not easy to go catch that stray cow out in the field. So
I'm going to want to see an analysis between this year and next year with AI going up.
Okay, will do. And so I know I didn't talk about AI in here, but that is something that we've been looking at because so many of our approved softwares have suddenly added in AI. And so then, oh my gosh, how do we do this?
And you don't even know the back end they're using, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. We have no idea. So we have been evaluating, and I know, and I hope I'm not taking this away from Lisa, but we've been looking at Google Gemini because we talk with them because we are our Google Workspace environment.
Yeah, hold off on that until after those presentations today.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. That sounds good. So we look at all that information, and it's tough. Which AI app do we approve? And then again, so many of the apps that we already have approved suddenly now have an AI component.
But what I'm asking is there's our learning councils, what we're tracking is the content libraries, the content apps.
Yes.
Are being used less, and a lot of districts are not renewing.
Right.
Because the interest has gone over to pure AI use.
Wow. Okay. So we do use Learn Platform to manage our apps.
Yeah.
To look through all that. But yeah, I didn't. Yeah.
Even they have a vested interest.
They do.
Right?
Yep. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They all do. So I mentioned Schoology. They've added an AI component. We've mentioned Canva. Nearpod now adds AI. Canva now has AI. So.
Well, I'm moving the Omni AI Alliance that was just founded. By summer next year, we will be granting certifications on all those.
Okay.
Because we're going to put them all through their paces.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, not an easy task. And again, I don't want to stifle creativity, but sometimes the answer has to be no. And then finally, and I'll rush through it because I realize I don't have much time, is how do we maintain that one-to-one environment? So I'm sure many of you in here, you were thrown into one-to-one. COVID hit, we weren't one-to-one, but we are now. And we never had a plan to go one-to-one. Like that was always in the back minds of everybody. How do we go to one-to-one? But we were thrown into it. How do you continue to maintain that with the funding that you currently have? And those of you from Virginia know, the state advocates for a 5-to-1 ratio. 5 devices for everyone. 5 students for every 1 device. And in the amount of things that we have to do with our students that are required, That's not really feasible anymore. And then they provide you X amount of dollars. That hasn't changed in, I know, at least 12 years. And I'm pretty certain probably closer to 20. I just could go back 12 years. How do you maintain that? How do you keep the equipment in good working shape when kids do damage equipment? Sometimes it's accidental and sometimes it's outright intentional. So how do we continue to maintain that? And that is something that I think all of us who are in the technology field in this room have been fighting with and will continue to fight with for the next several years. So what we started off with was 6th graders got a new Chromebook, 9th graders got a new Chromebook. So when 8th graders left middle school, they turned in their Chromebook and it went back to the 6th graders. What we were discovering was that they were giving us not such good quality Chromebooks anymore that our now new 6th graders were getting. And 9th graders, oh, I destroyed this one. I'm getting a new one when I hit high school. So 2 years ago, I think we made the decision, you get it when you're a 6th grader and that's your device until you graduate. So you need to take care of it. But we still have to have money for every single 6th grader to get a new Chromebook, plus refresh elementary school and make sure that they have some newer quality ones and make sure we have as new people come in. So it's tough. It's not easy. And again, how do you pay for all these damages? We do have insurance, but not everybody buys insurance. We do use salvage parts to fix all those computers, but at some point we won't have that anymore. And again, we want to have all these things so that we can continue to be creative and innovative. So,
Okay, I just want to have you rush through so there's
Yes.
like a minute for questions.
So that's it. I just kind of went through all that. So the biggest thing is balancing screen time, quality versus quantity, or passive versus active. Is YouTube a distraction? Do we continue to block it? And the administrators in the room, they can let me know if it's been positive that we did it, or if they're like, nope, just go ahead and open it back up. And then again, apps, quality over privacy. Sometimes the answer's got to be no.
Okay, any questions? I'll hand you the mic so you can ask any questions you want to ask. You guys have any questions?
I can hear Robin.
I'm recording, so I wanted to pick up your voice.
What was the program you used for your data privacy vetting?
Tech Co-op, TEC-Co-op, COOP. And Robin, you probably would be less than $5,000 because you are. Yeah, the max is $5,000,
Okay.
and
Per student or per device?
it's per student.
Okay.
So we're over 10,000, but we maxed out at 5. So you are probably going to be like 2,000, but it's been worth every penny. So
Nice. Anybody else? Let's put it on the spot. Ask like a really hard question.
wow.
Oh, you guys raise your hand.
Here, wait. Let me get you recorded as saying this.
Tough question here. Will you be sharing this presentation?
I can if you'd like me to.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh.
We will.
Good job.
I have more of a comment because I'm on the ground level of such initiatives.
You are. Yes.
So I think that like at the middle school level, right? I'll speak to that. The YouTube switch has been wonderful.
Fantastic.
And that has been much appreciated. I think where we currently struggle now is actually in our and I'm not the tech brain, right?
You're good,
but
Austin,
we
you're
have a software called it's LineWise.
Yes.
That kind of filters kids, disallows content. So that process is a challenge at the middle school level because you can kind of get a kid's journey, and it'll tell you just the amount of time certain individuals spend just trying to circumvent the different programs and things like that.
They're amazing.
It's incredible.
Yes.
It's alarming. And it's alarming to parents when you call them and share that information. So I think that's kind of the, on the ground level where we can even continue to increase, the opportunities of pointing kids and getting them into the right direction so they're using the technology appropriately.
Yeah. I agree. And we are constantly adjusting our filter, but it is
Thank you.
not always easy.
They're creative.
They are very creative. You're like, wow, they found a new way. So, yes.
This is a little more tech oriented, but I was kind of surprised you're pushing your devices for 7 years.
Yes.
So how are you managing that with, are you using warranty
Updates.
and internal repairs?
Yeah. So I know the warranty is only good for, I think, 3 or 4 years. 3. I'm trying to think, we may have paid for 4, but, so then, yeah, after that, it becomes a challenge of, oh, it's out of warranty. How do we fix that camera that broke, which to no fault of the child? So that's where we have to absorb the cost of fixing those cameras. We do charge families when it's accidental or absolutely intentional damage. But that's where the insurance comes in handy. It's $29 a year that we can't force parents to buy, but the ones that do, I think, find it valuable because it also replaces a Chromebook if the kid lost it. The only thing it doesn't do is cover intentional damage. So those fun TikTok challenges where they stick the lead in the USB
Yep.
is not covered.
Okay. Thank you.
So, yep.
I was glad to hear what you were saying about the extending the life of the Chromebooks.
Yeah.
With Google and extending their now
Correct.
the
It's 10
coverage,
years now,
yep.
right?
Yeah, it makes it nice and everything because based off what you have. But one thing that we in Nelson are doing is we did the same thing with 9th grade, but we because you'd have 4 years of ADP coverage that would basically go through 12. But we also started it in 5th grade.
Okay.
And so we did that because those are stay at school. And
Yes.
the thing was nice about it is we not only assign the device to the student, we put their name on the device so that they know and they say, you'll have this for the next 4 years.
Okay.
The beauty of that is that we find they take better care of it because their first year they didn't have to carry it, but it was still their device.
Yeah.
And when they went and
Took it
to
with them to
school
middle
and
school.
everything, it was their device. And that part that we found was, so far it's worked very well.
Do you give every 5th and every 9th grader a new Chromebook?
Every 5th and every 9th grader, yes.
Thank you. Well, this was awesome. Should we all give her a big round of applause? Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.